So I was worried that Scorsese would fall into that same trap, which would be horrifying, just maybe to get bums on seats. I don't know. I spoke to a couple of friends who'd seen it, and they both said, yeah, it's a bit shit. So I was really kind of like, okay, this is disappointing. And then you threw it on and said the first 10 minutes were so good. And then I the other night put it on, and my God, am I glad I watched it and didn't sleep on that. Wow.
Well, I'll go like further. That it's interesting to talk about this stuff in terms of our own. It was almost like I was expected to not like it or something because of all the hate we'd had for Wings and stuff like that. And then I know some people that you know and work with were concerned for my mental health.
They were concerned for your mental health.
With the movie coming out because they're thinking, and I'm like, what's going on? Like
literal phone call about this. Like a phone call from, I'll tell you who it was from.
Who was it?
From the Canadian recording artist Sam Roberts, who was genuinely concerned for your mental health. He said, all I'm thinking about right now is Johnny's mental health with this documentary.
How can he handle another Beatles documentary? And I'm thinking like, oh my God, like I've positioned myself as this person who has like a lot of issues with these constant Beatles documentaries and releases and things, which I do have a lot of opinions about them. But so I went in thinking, okay, like Johnny, like I'm sort of looking at myself.
Talk to yourself a little bit, yeah.
I'm looking at myself from afar, like, you know, I'm sort of like floating above myself, and I'm being like
astral projecting.
Exactly, I'm like
David Lynch, TM.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm like, here we go, like, get ready to hate this thing.
You're just seeing yourself on a couch. You're looking down at you, and it's also young Johnny playing the songs on an acoustic. Course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I'm like, get ready to hate this documentary, but guess what happened?
Yeah.
Like every other time, the Beatles loved me out of it completely. They did. They showed me again through their pure, unbridled joy, talent, positivity, and energy. I was just, it is so charismatic to watch those boys make jokes, talk, hang out with each other, and then above all, play music. It's just, for me, it actually is like just very spiritual and amazing to watch that stuff for me.
I don't know about unbridled joy though.
Well,
even,
on stage,
sure. There's some amazingly interesting. First of all, one of my favorite things about the documentary, which I thought was a really good play from Scorsese and the team, was to find. Was to make it about the audience and about the people's stories around this experience, to make it less about like and make it less about the Beatles, even though of course it was, but it was to create a deeper meaning of what it was to be there and to witness it, because we weren't there. And your auntie said this once, that you know, she really said like they were aliens. They were the best dressed people. We didn't understand, we didn't know. It was impossible to even convey.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult for our generation and subsequent generations from the generation that experienced it to understand. And he did a really good job in this documentary of creating that reality, especially with particularly the women he spoke to, the sort of Beatle mania.
So much fun, yeah.
They were having the footage is so pure and joyful and funny and like playful, but also them speaking as older women about it, and I love this like ecstasy of like, the screaming. I don't really know. It's a bit funny looking back at it, but it was just no words to convey what was happening. I just loved it so much.
The only part that was weird to me, I love the interviews too, exactly the ones you mentioned. I like that. Yeah. I liked Ronnie Spector talking about taking them to Harlem to party, which is amazing.
Do you think it's real?
I don't know. And
because she's
also maybe real or not, Smokey going to the Cavern Club and seeing the Beatles.
He's such an eloquent, well-spoken man. I mean, that's an obvious, iconic moment in a documentary. It's Smokey Robinson like talking about the Beatles. And obviously the cover is, sublime.
That was amazing.
Just fucked, you know. give up music level.
I can still, though, my only criticism, I can do without some of the experts still who are filling in the Beatles are good stuff.
You know, the guy.
Who was the guy?
The guy crying the whole fucking time? No, the guy who was crying the whole fucking time. He I guess he's in. I mean, I could be speaking really out of turn here. It seemed like, from my perspective at least, this guy had a really rough childhood. His dad seemed maybe kicked the shit out of him or something, and that that's not cool. But it was interesting to start the documentary with him basically weeping at the idea of a light coming on. Like it was like that's what they represented. I thought that it was a little bit like a little bit too much. And you're talking about Terence Trent D'Arby.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
You didn't like Terence Trent D'Arby. It was Terence Trent D'Arby.
Who's he?
The hard line, according to Terence Trent D'Arby. He's a musician from the 80s, 90s. He was massive for a minute.
Wow, I've never heard of him.
If you want me to stay, I'll say what I should have said. If you want me to stay, I should have said that I love you.
Interesting choice to me.
What about Wishing Well? You've never heard Wishing Well?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
When you could get any musician pretty much in history.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. He was just sort of like, like for me, like the Beatles. And there was like press shots of him in different eras of his career and stuff like that. Yeah. And maybe he kind of
probably his buddy right now.
That's what I mean. I could do without Scorsese's buddies.
Yeah.
Who are in there, who are just like context, being like, the Beatles were the best.
Yeah.
These guys were doing... It's like, we know, now we all know.
I like the closer they get to the everyman, or in the case of this, the every woman's experience. Of course, they found like famous people who were there too, but it would have been nice to have more of those vignettes, I thought.
But yeah, in terms of the interviews, that was fine, but the footage, the footage itself of the band, was...
What are they doing?
I made notes. I made drunken notes here.
What are they doing? Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't know why exactly, and it's got nothing to do with red wine because I wasn't drinking it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd even taken some sedatives, so there was no reason for me to feel any particular emotion around anything.
Yeah.
I just was crying right off the top. Like, something about, like, I'm saying the guy crying off the top was a bit too much, but I'm doing it in the privacy of my own home. And I wouldn't there was something bizarre about watching. I think there's an element of this to me as well, of like geographical, like sort of psychogeographical feelings around it, because they're so northern at that point in their career. Like they're so, like watching, and I'm not suggesting, no, in fact I am.
You should.
Watching the way they navigate as little snarky dickheads from Liverpool, and caught the media and are funny and quick-witted, is like any kid I knew growing up that had a bit of nous about them. Like, and it's wonderful watching that cultural exchange because it's so long ago. I know a pre-kind of media, pre-television, Kennedy's just made the speech the year before, right?
Yeah.
They didn't really have much. I mean, they had some nuclear bombs, they had TVs and stuff, but they weren't, it was all new. They didn't have drum machines yet.
Yeah, I thought Paul saying that, even though, it was classic modern Paul, but him saying that maybe America needed the Beatles, I thought that was an interesting, not that they needed... Like, I think what he's trying to say, he wasn't an answer, but like that maybe people were kind of, like it was the right time. He's trying to sort of explain why it was the mania,
The mania, What was he suggesting? It was like, because of, it's like post-war or something? What was it again?
No, Kennedy was assassinated 3 months earlier.
I don't know. I think that's
it's an interesting idea.
I think that's a little bit grandiose.
Maybe. I'll tell you one thing, though.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, we're going to fill an hour, no problem.
I'm fired up. I just need to say this because this is my big take from it, and I just want to try to get through it.
Yeah.
But my big Johnny take from it is John Lennon. Mm-hmm. Is that watching him? I was trying to think why I was moved. I cried too. Why I was so moved watching it, and I realized that the advantage we have of knowing Lennon's whole life trajectory, the arc of how he became this defiant figure in pop culture and music, and then was ultimately shot and killed.
Yeah.
And knowing this, and then watching him, getting to watch him on stage, buying in to the Beatles and what they're doing. And there was something, it's not voyeuristic, but there's something about it that just filled me, like, made me so happy to watch him with his friends playing and enjoying himself. That feels like you're almost like he wouldn't want you to see that or something later, John.
Well, they do a lot of work to kind of balance him out. I mean, he has the final say, doesn't he, in the documentary itself?